Hello, welcome to the Record Celtic podcast. My name is Daniel Cobb. I'm delighted to be joined by Record Sports' Graeme Young. Graeme, how goes it?
Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks. I'm also delighted to be joined by the one and only Michael Gannon. Mick, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks so much, chaps. Nice to see your cheery faces on a Monday.
What a perfect way to start the week.
Aye, there's plenty to take our teeth into, put it that way. Isn't there?
Well, I think there's only one place for us to start, and it's Hampden Park. I mean, you guys were both there yesterday. I'll maybe start with you, Graeme. Plenty of it's been talked about the game itself, but actually being there, what was the atmosphere like from a Celtic point of view? Was it, I mean, I try to think of another way to say this, but was it as toxic as it seemed on the TV?
Yeah, it started ominous. I think it was probably first felt in the Roma game as well, and I know Mick was at that, but there's a mix here of apathy, anger, but because the apathy is so strong, the anger isn't as vitriolic as it usually is. There was definitely a feeling before the game that this was seismic for a manager who desperately needed it. I think one defeat's a crisis, isn't it, in Glasgow, but two was a big problem, and then here we are, a third conceit, and I think it was away Celtic lost, and I know there was that 15-minute kind of. They were very good in the first half for about 15 minutes. There was a lot of good attacking, overlapping. I think that was all based on Iheanacho. Said to me yesterday, sitting next to us, that I think Iheanacho had found a manager a system that suited him, the ability to hold the ball and turn that got other players into the game. But out with that, the way St Mirren started the game and the level of chances, it's the quality of chances they created. And I know they scored 3, but there was multiple opportunities there for more. And I think that's a galling bit for Celtic, and coupled with the fact that in the second half, they were so light on chances. It became clear that the more Nancy got involved in the game itself, the less effective Celtic were. And the amount of times we're back to players getting called over, a lot of tactical instructions. I think it was quite a chastening day, and I think you've got all the people that maybe worried about the manager before he came in. And to be fair, the things that worried them about the manager are been proven correct, in the sense tactically the MLS is a very particular league, so someone like Wilfried Nancy has got a style of play, was able to have an effect, but this is Celtic, and I think my big concern, or what you should be worried for Celtic, is this style of so many players in the centre of the pitch and overlapping. Is it really made for a team that dominates the ball? Is that the style that the best teams, we've watched it with Ruben Amorim at Man United, like, you can't always draw parallels, but the best teams still play with out-and-out wingers, with overlaps that way, rather than this kind of players coming in the pitch. I think Celtic always have more problems going through the middle, but when it was done at pace with Iheanacho in the pitch, some of it looked good, but the rest, it was a chastening day for Celtic.
I mean, Matt, Graeme makes a good point there. I mean, about the way Celtic played, the formation, a lot's been made of it. I mean, very simply, as a fan watching, I mean, Liam Scales was playing like a left forward at times, like rampaging down the left wing. It was weird. It's strange to even kind of see what Nancy's trying to do, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Listen, Celtic are a bit of a mess right now. They really are. And there's a lot of contributing factors that have got them to this point, a fairly shambolic point. And the short term, the new managers come in. He's had 3 games, 3 defeats. They've lost 8 goals in a week, scored 2, conceded from set pieces in each of the 3 games. I thought St Mirren were very good value for their win yesterday. Second half, they were actually pretty comfortable winners. Even early on, they got scored 93 seconds from a corner kick. Could have been 2 up fairly easily. I think Graeme was right that a spell when I thought Celtic played quite well. And you think, is this the kind of hint of the kind of Nancy ball, what you want to call it? And you think, well, yeah, perhaps. And I think at times it could cause teams problems because the sheer amount of bodies there are going forward. But managers like Stephen Romas look at that, and the way to counter that is to hit long into 2 centre forwards, leave 2 up and hit long into them, leave them man for man, and it becomes an arm wrestle with the centre halves. And countless times, Iunga, Lundulu had the beating of their men who were marking them, and they were spinning around behind. And sometimes the man lacked a wee bit of quality to finish it off, but they had chances, and they're always a threat. And you thought, it just looked to me really naive. And then So, but for a while, that was the vision. It was working. You get scales overlapping and Tierney underlapping and all this kind of stuff. You get Tanecki playing right wing, who I'm not sure that's. I mean, I'm not sure he's not been doing that great in the left, but I'm not sure he's a right wing back or winger either. But quickly, once they had the setback of losing Iniacho, it quickly dissolved into anarchy and chaos. And in the second period, it looked like a works team. Players didn't know where they meant to be in the pitch. There were constantly communication from the sidelines. Confusion reigned. Chaos reigned. It just looked so disjointed and disorganised. And St Mirren had a field day. We're talking about a team that is the complete opposite. I mean, St Mirren are a team who are so well drilled, so well organised. They play to their strengths. They capitalise on the weakness of possession, and they punished Celtic severely. And it's and you you're loath to kind of jump on this bandwagon. You know, people are saying that Nancy's got to go. I mean, 3 games in, 10 days in the job. I mean, it's ridiculous even contemplating it. And you're reluctant to kind of jump on that kind of pylon because the guy needs time. He needs to be a chance to apply his own style and get his own players in through a window. But he's also got to have a bit of common sense. He's also got to take a step back, and he has. Listen, Wilfried Nancy was contacted at the end of October from Celtic. He was still involved with Columbus Crew at the time, and that's when he was told that he was the number 1 candidate, pretty much the only candidate. So he had over a month. I know he's busy with Crew in the playoffs at that point. They were out of the playoffs. He still had 3 weeks to analyse the squad from afar, to talk to people in the building, to kind of do his due diligence and work out and find out why Celtic were playing a certain way under Martin O'Neill. They also had the chance to talk to Martin O'Neill and ask him why he played that way. And as it transpires from Martin O'Neill said that he spoke to him for 15 minutes. It wasn't really an in-depth conversation. Again, I can't understand why that would be the case. I mean, if you're an incoming CEO of a new company and you get a chance to work alongside the guy you're replacing if they were stepping down and get the knowledge that they've got. Most managers don't get that. Most managers get sacked and they're out the back door. You don't get a chance to talk to them. He had the chance to speak to the guy who had won 7 out of 8 and said, why are you playing this certain way? And it's because Celtic don't have key parts to that squad. Manuel didn't want to play that way. He had to play that way. It was about round pegs and square holes and minimising those round pegs. Whereas Nancy's come in and he said, right, I'm going to play my way right from the start. And you think, right, that's bold. Okay. Does it against Hearts. Gets picked off. You think, right, okay, lesson learned. Does it again against Roma. Gets picked off. In the first half, that was a complete shambles. Could have been anything. Again, you think, okay, it's Roma. That could happen. Like Martin O'Neill and Brendan Rodgers would both probably lose that game anyway as well. So you give them that bye. This is the one you think, right, St Mirren are a tough team to play against. They've got an awkward style. They're physical. The middle of the park, they've got a couple of, tremendous players in there. Kelly Phillips, Keanu Bakic. Gogic coming busting out from the back. Brilliant. He was outstanding on Sunday. You know where their kind of strengths lie. Again, it was not tunnel vision. This is the way Celtic are going to play. And St Mirren picked it apart. So I think there's deeper issues at Celtic coming from the kind of the summer and beyond. In fact, I think you can go back to last January and beyond. Celtic have lost 15 games in 2025. They lost 2 in all competitions in 2024.
That's
Dortmund
crazy.
And Hearts. So that's 15 games in the calendar year. So this is a rot that's set in from the turn of the year, and it's now coming to fruition, really. But I don't think, for all these background problems, and there are many, I don't think the manager can escape criticism because he has been incredibly naive or arrogant to come in and try to be revolutionary in the first week in such an important week.
Yeah.
And it's proved catastrophic for him because now he is well and truly behind the 8 ball. Some fans who weren't convinced that his name coming in out of the blue, but maybe willing to give him a chance, that's now gone. He's now got zero goodwill amongst the support who right away are thinking this guy's out his depth. More worryingly, what does the squad think? That's the problem now he's got. Is you can afford to lose the faith from the stands if you got the belief in the squad to implement your ideas and then go from there. It gives you at least a base. Question is now, do the Celtic squad believe this? They've just lost 3 games in a week, having won 7 out of 8, including playing Feyenoord off the park. And I know Feyenoord aren't great right now, but still a tough game.
Right.
So has the squad got the belief? Because if he loses the belief in the dressing room now, he's got a major problem because he's got to get to January, and then he's got to have the club functioning properly in terms of recruitment and having 3, 4, 5 first-team ready players lined up early in January. Not even just at the end of January, the last day scramble for loan deals and all this nonsense. They need to have 3, 4, 5 guys lined up for the first weeks in January. Otherwise, they're in grave danger of saying goodbye to the title. I think that at this point in time, Celtic are not winning the title. And if they don't make serious inroads in January, they can forget about it. But the question for manager is he going to even last to that point? Because he's got United, Aberdeen, Motherwell, Livingston, and Rangers. I mean, he's got to get wins on the board, which means he's going to have to be pragmatic and have to play to what the cards he's got. Can he do that? That's the big question.
Just on yesterday's game.
Oh, that was a big answer, wasn't it?
No, it was good. I enjoyed that.
I thought Young was going to drift off there.
No, it was fine. It was all right.
His happy cave with the Penguins and all
that. I'm all right, mate. I'm back.
What I was just going to say, just on yesterday's game specifically, massive fan of St Mirren. I think Stephen Robson's one of the best managers in the country, and he thoroughly deserved to win yesterday. But it was so alarming how superior they were to Celtic in that second half. I mean, again, with all due respect, it's St Mirren. I mean, Ayunga was great, but it's Ayunga and Lundalu. I mean, I don't know. Like I say, I was very alarmed by how much better St Mirren was.
The best players on the bench. I mean, the main man, Mandarin, has been sick before long, but he's starting. I mean, Celtic, man for man, should have enough to beat St Mirren 9 times out of 10. Listen, they've struggled against them the last 4 games now. I mean, a defeat Sunday in the last 3 games have been last-minute goals. To see them off, I'll take a draw in the last game of last season, and then the both games this season have been last-minute winners. So they've had problems against St Mirren all season. But if you match up man for man, Celtic have still got an expensively assembled squad that should be better man for man, but they weren't.
Not even close to it.
What's the reason for that?
You mentioned earlier, Mick, that Martin O'Neill was speaking today on the radio about his time in charge as interim manager of Celtic. Obviously, Graeme, one of the interesting points was Mick mentioning that he didn't even speak to Nancy. I was pretty blown away by that, he only spoke to him for 15 minutes. What did you make of
that? I was surprised as well, just for the reasons that Mick outlined. I think it's this unique, it doesn't happen often in football, that you get the chance to sit down and talk. But if we're being honest, if we've looked how the last 10 days, 12 days has unfolded, I think it's quite clear that Wilfried Nancy's got his own idea what his Celtic should look like. But I totally agree. I think that was something that kind of stood out. I think you can tell that Martin O'Neill was very gracious as well when I think the callers piled on, and he was basically just asking for a bit of time for the manager. And I think it's a balance for Martin O'Neill as well, because I think he is genuinely conflicted by the fact that I think the permanent gig was a big ask for someone of his age, right? Even though he looks very sprightly. With that, he said it as well. I thought it was dead interesting, the fact that he mentioned that the Nottingham Forest gig ended in a bit of a whimper. And I think this has been him coming to terms with his own, just kind of righting some wrongs in his own managerial career. So there's probably that expectation to keep on going. But I do think I would have tried to keep Martin O'Neill in the building for at least a week, and fed him snacks and just fired away questions, because there's no reason that you can't. There can't be enough questions. There's not enough questions out there that you can't ask. This is quite clearly a team. As Mick's also said, that transfer windows have been going awry for the last 2 windows. There's issues all over the pitch. Why would you not someone of O'Neill's experience really exhaust every avenue of question that you can get out of it? Because what we've got here is, it's so clear that Brendan Rodgers' time was coming to an end, and it happened very abruptly. O'Neill does the caretaker job of all time, comes in, rights the ship. I think it would have shown a bit of humility just to find more answers than what we've got, because what we've got here now is a very defined style of playing football, and it's jarring with what had happened before. But that's on everybody as well. That goes beyond the manager. I think those above him really need to look at the way this was handled, organised. You think as well, someone made the point as well, could you imagine if Nancy's first game was the Hibs game at Easter Road? That was a challenging game for Martin O'Neill. That would have been a tougher one. You could be even, listen, Dundee at home as well in that mix, but it's been a really talented time. But I think for the manager, I think it was a misstep not to take more time with Wilfried Nancy. You're up there all the time, Mick. I don't know if there's any good cafes, etc. in the Rolling Hills, Eastern Bartonshire up in Lennoxtown, but I think there should have been more time spent, because I think it would have helped everyone involved.
There's a wee cracker up by Fintry, another 20 minutes drive. The courtyard up in Fintry. Any freebies will be gratefully received, but love a little farmhouse cafe thing up there. Very nice for a wee coffee or a wee bowl of soup. A scone. That's that's my life these days. Used to be nightclubs. Now it's a nice wee afternoon tea.
If they're listening, please get in touch. That'd be great.
Nice wee scone with jam. I like a scone.
Sponsors available.
Yes. I'm talking about scones and jam here. I've lost my train of thought now. I fancy a scone. I mean, there was never going to be an easy time for it to come in. I mean, you look at even after this game, you think, well, coming after the cup final, what's Tannadice Wednesday, Aberdeen Sunday, into the Christmas period. It's never going to be an easy point in time. And managers always want to get in the door and do that. They always have self-belief to go in and do the job. I just think making such big changes in week one, I think was just a bit silly, really. I think it was because, I mean, there's everyone. I get that he's got his own style he wants to play, but listen, you might have a penchant for wearing high heel shoes, but I'm not going to squeeze my size 11 trotters into a size 4s. Do you know what I mean? You have to work with the wardrobe you've got. Do you know what I mean? That's probably a really bad analogy. It's me a rather dubious light.
Caught me a bit off guard. I'm just picturing your size 11s trying to fit into a high heel.
Maybe stand in the back, past the house. He like to get a bit dragged into through the years. You know what I'm saying, but you've got to adapt to what you've got at your disposal. And that's what top managers do. You look at what you've got and get the best out of what you've got. And I keep saying it. I mean, I can't understand why you have to kind of reverse engineer it. You have to say, what have I got? What can I play? Not what I want to play, then make that fit. Because in Sunday, let's be honest. I mean, I think you've got to give this guy a chance. I think I keep saying it. I like the profile. I think he could potentially be an exciting manager for Celtic. I think if he came in June, had 6 weeks with the squad and brought his own players in, I think it was a different issue. But I also look at that second half on Sunday, and there's at one point it was James Forrest playing centre mid. Like you say, there was Liam Scales apparently outside left. They've got, I mean Kobe Donovan at centre half. Dyson Maida was number 10 playmaker at one point. And you're thinking, what? I mean, it genuinely looked like a works team when nobody really knew who played where. And you go, I'll bring my wee pal. He can play. Where does he play? It doesn't matter. We just need bodies. Just need numbers.
Good.
It was just throwing people on the park. And I mean, look, McCown was over asking where he was meant to play. And I mean, Callum McGregor's countless of times across again, working out where they're meant to be. And you think that is overcomplicating things. It's like some of these guys are very good players. And it's been despite having so little time, and they look a bit overcoached and over too much information to take on board. And by the way, there's language barriers in that team as well with Celtic as well. You had Dyson Maida who played deep line midfield role against Roma, didn't work. He then plays further up in the second half and was better. Back forward up the pitch again this time, but then you see Dyson Maida starts out wide, he's through the middle and he's dropping deeper. You're just thinking it's too much going on. There's too much going on. Players are, I mean, I'm not being disparaged, but players are simple creatures. They don't like change. They like things pretty straightforward. And when you get that much going on, it's almost like it's a brain overload. And it's almost looked like the Celtic team had short-circuited because there's so much information trying to get across over a period of 3 games.
Do you know what frustrates me the most, Graeme, about the formation? That Nancy said it after the Hearts and Roma game. I don't know if he said it yesterday. You guys might be able to tell me, but he gets asked about the shape and the formation, and he said it twice. As I say, I've heard him say it. Formation's not important. The formation is not important, guys. If it's not important, play the formation everyone's comfortable with. I don't really understand.
I think that's true. I think that is true. You've nailed that. That's one that is so. I think with the Hearts one, he kind of corrected and said we were actually playing a back 4. And no, that's a dangerous game early on because it's quite clearly a free right now. You can go with heat maps and all that, but that kind of semantics is not going to win you any fight, especially losing 3 games in a row.
We can all see.
Exactly, and that's it as well. It's like the thing with the 3-4-3 as well is it's a very the Gasperini was just probably the best at it in European football, and that's honestly nightmare fuel opponent for a guy like Wilfried Nancy to try to install that, and he was just able to go man for man over the pitch. But look at Ruben Amorim as again to bring it up. It is important because there's talk today finally, like he's shifting. I think the African Cup of Nations, and but that Man United team literally looks made to play a 4-3-3. The Celtic, for all their faults, and I think their style for years under Andrew and Brendan Rodgers is tired. It does need something new. Maybe I think Celtic can play two up top as well. I think football will evolve and we'll come back to a 4-4-2 in some guys. But this team is made to play a 4-3-3. The system's built for that. There's enough practice, and then like anything else, you gradually bring in your players. But I think Iheanacho, as I mentioned, was the one who brought a legitimacy to it yesterday. That kind of striker is what you need in that system. But that almost highlights the problems with it again, that there's this guy who's been not a guarantee. The fact Iheanacho played so well shows the shortcomings elsewhere, that you've got guys that all these other players who you've seen countless times stand up and be counted, especially in finals for Celtic, look at loss, and you can see as well when these balls are going down the channels, the next run should come, and probably players know deep down they should make the run, but they're also going, is that what I'm definitely meant to do? So It's just frozen by fear. I felt Cal McGregor countless times in the game. It just little bits when you're inside the stadium. There was a bit with Taneke. It looked like Hatate was in the right and Taneke was in the wrong, but McGregor maybe viewed it differently because it wasn't what they were meant to do. The run was the wrong way round. But imagine the captain, Cal McGregor's at his best when he's playing freely, isn't he? But yesterday he was over firefighting and fixing and moving and then getting messages. It's absolutely not the way Celtic at their best. It's clear messaging and they go out with a game plan. They're Celtic, they do the business. Yesterday was learning on the job. It was like it was a school show, and they're still at the audition stage and not the final performance. It was just miles off it, and it doesn't end. Look at these games coming. Tannadice, Aberdeen have been much improved. It just not Motherwell. You know, like, come on, they've been the team.
Even Livy away.
Exactly, every game. See, that's the thing as well. We know that. See, when you're playing at this level and you're so far off it, every game's difficult. Every single game you play, because if the level's not the level, then problems can come in all sorts of shapes. And every game there looks like a challenge for Celtic the way they're playing. And that's the scary thing for Wilfried Nancy, because 3 defeats is bad, but if it doesn't change. Celtic don't lose 4, they don't lose 5, they don't lose 3 normally, but they don't get into this kind of situation. So that's the scary bit, and it needs to be fixed somehow.
But this is what's the main talking about, the malfunction at every level Celtic, right? I mean, you think, right, that the team, this team has been built for the last 4 or 5 seasons on 4-3-3 under Ange, under Rodgers. I think Martin O'Neill tried to take a bit of it early on and realised that's what they've got. And so you think that the problem is right wing and up front. But if you have to you've got to play made up front, whoever left and right. Or, I mean, you've got 3 or 4 left wingers. I mean, even now you think we'll play Maida left wing. That's where he's most comfortable. You get Taneke's back up. Forget Balakwishaw. He's been an absolute disaster signing. The problem is the rest of the team picks itself, and you get a right wing situation. This is where Celtic, I think, again, people forget. See, in the olden days when you had an injury crisis and you're missing a striker or you're missing a right winger, you tend to bring in somebody from the reserves or the youth team who plays that position and give them a run out. They might not be very good, but that's where you get them from, right? Celtic's backup B team is hopeless. I mean, at no point during the whole crisis point in the last month, in terms of injuries and guys missing, has anyone been bumped up? I mean, Callum Osman was the one that came up and done okay and get injured, right? He's the one, but he was signed at the start as apparently a first team squad man rather than a B team player. End up in the B team. But begs the question: how bad is Shin Yamada? Again, still not been seen. I mean, how bad must he be? Inamura, another one, crying out for a left wing back, who apparently people plays left wing back. Never been seen. How bad must he be? But even the B team, where's the 18-year-old right winger in the B team? Well, I'll tell you what it is. They're losing to Gala Fairydean the weekend, or Ross County 4-0 the previous weekend, or losing to East Fife 2 weeks ago, losing to Cowdenbeath and East Kilbride. That hopeless, beyond hopeless. But these boys are earning good money. Hopeless. I mean, this is the problems that they've got now. There's problems throughout the club. This is an issue that's been tucked away, by the way. I mean, nothing coming through. Nothing coming through. B team getting thumped every week by teams, part-time guys, brickies and some instructors. So it's there's problems at every layer. I mean, they can't even bring somebody in from that environment into the first team that's going to contribute. By the looks of things.
No.
So what is the point of it? What is the point of it? So the managers is one problem, but Celtic have allowed a kind of, I don't know if it's complacency or whatever. I mean, they've been very, very successful over the years. Cannot dispute it. But they have taken their eye off the road here. The squad has been allowed to kind of genuinely diminish in quality over the last 3 or 4 windows. And I say the background and the youth setup, which by the way, Paul Tisdale last year was part of his remit to restructure the youth setup. Hasn't been done yet. Still waiting to find out what's happening with that one. But so there's problems: recruitment, manager, long-term strategy. The youth setup. Everything's not working at the moment at Celtic, and they can talk about how great things are at AGMs, and this is just a wee blip. To deal with the problem, you have to recognise it and then address it. Admit to it for a start, and then look at setting a path to remedying it. At the moment, it looks like the Celtic board are kind of saying, no, we're doing it. The structure's fine, everything's good, everything's great. Brendan Rodgers was he got a bit too much high maintenance and caused a problem, but we're fixing it. But the reality is different. The reality is not. Celtic haven't been caught up by Rangers and the 49ers money, spending big and then charging it over the hill. They've regressed into the pack. Hearts are the one that capitalised. It could have been Rangers in any other given year. But unless they recognise that there are major problems throughout at each layer at the club, they're going to drift. And the guy who's going to cop it in the meantime, in the short term, is going to be the manager because he's the one in the firing line. And at Celtic, he's the only one with a voice because nobody else talks at Celtic. Nobody else will stand and answer questions about where they're going, apart from the manager. So he'll need to face the media probably 3 or 4 times a week now till middle of January. And under increasing pressure with the results start piling up. So they're heading it. I think so. I've been saying it for months that I think Celtic will get problems in the pipeline. Well, now they're manifested and it's now laid out bare. They've lost the cup final. They're behind in the league. Europe. People are saying that they're talking about knockouts. They're not in the knockout stage yet. It's not another result, at least one result to get to the knockout.
4 points to guarantee it, for the last 2 games.
No guarantees. They've got to go to Bologna. So the season has been bumbling along to this point, and it's now very much in danger of going very much Pete Tong in the next few weeks.
We've only got a couple of minutes left, guys, but just to wrap up, I cut earlier on to a picture of Peter Lawwell looking like he wanted Hampden to swallow him up yesterday. We've obviously looked at the games that are coming up for Celtic and Wilfried Nancy. Just basically, what is your guys' gut feeling? I mean, I don't think he's going to change personally, but I do think it would be suicidal to keep going the way he's going. And you mentioned, Mick, that some fans are calling for his head already, which in one hand seems absolutely ridiculous to me. But then when I see the team's performances and I see his interviews, sometimes I'm left thinking, is this guy maybe just in the wrong movie?
Is that for me?
Well, either of you.
Well, at the moment he's in a horror movie, not a drama movie. I feel for the guy. I mean, he's come in. I mean, listen, I think he's tried too much too soon, but he is in a perilous position, as we've said. And we mentioned Peter Law. I've got a degree of sympathy for Peter Law as well. I mean, overseen the most successful period in the club since the 60s and 70s. I guess a bit of a bad rap from fans. Some of it undeserved. And he's a chairman now. He's not making a decision maker on a daily basis, by all accounts. So I've got a bit of sympathy for him as well. But he knows the lie of the land. And they're sitting there seeing this on Sunday, and surely they can recognise that there's major problems. But it's whether or not they can ride it out. I mean, the board are going to be coming under so much pressure this year, and it's not going to get any easier for them. But I do think, as I said earlier on, I think they need to be more front facing. They need to tackle it head on. I mean, I thought allowing Nancy to be paraded on his own was a poor show, a really poor show. I mean, AGM was a shambles. I think this dispute with supporters is not healthy. It's having a negative effect on everything at the club. So they need a bit of leadership now. They need somebody to come out and settle things down, present the vision, hold it an olive branch to supporters, and try and pull this thing back together with a good January. But is there appetite to do that? I don't know. I don't see it.
Graeme, I know you're about to get toughed out of the conference room that you're in any minute, but just to finish,
Honestly, that's good. I can see that.
It looks like one of those kind of jail kind of family meetings. You go and visit somebody in prison.
Well, there was a wee light blue glow. I had a wee kind of hacker vibe going on earlier as well. So now we've changed tack. But no, I agree with that as well.
What's your gut feeling, Graeme? Do you think Nancy is going to come good?
Well, listen, you know me, I always go down the YouTube rabbit hole, and I was genuinely impressed the way his teams played. I thought, listen, here we go. It's got to be. I'm maybe surprised with the lack of, not charisma he's got, but stature that he carries. I'm not saying, I think it feels pure tactics based all the time, dragging players over. I think something has to change quickly. Not been impressed how they line up at set pieces. That's been poor. And there's just questions that need answered. There needs to be a way of mending fences, his way with the old way, and finding results. I think without Iheanacho is a massive issue. I think they're up against it there, and problems could come off that because Maeda's not the striker and Johnny Kenny isn't either.
I think on that note, guys, that will bring us to the end of this week's Record Celtic podcast. Thank you very much for listening at home. Mick, Graeme, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Watch for the season to be jolly.
We'll be back next week to pour over the latest Celtic news. And as I say, thanks for listening.